Hey guys, it's Elle from Think Before You Type, and I'm here with Lostboycrow. How's it going?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us. So we're at the Philly date of your Spin the Globe Part 2 tour. So how's everything going so far?
It's going really well. I think this is the fourth show. It's been pretty evenly paced tour. And yeah, so I'm feeling pretty relaxed and energized and
Nice.
kind of hitting the stride right now. We've had a few shows. They've gone really, really cool and well. All new cities. And then this was our first time coming back to Philly in a couple years, so
cool.
It was cool to be back. Yeah.
So what would you say is your favorite song to perform live?
My favorite song to perform live is probably All My Lives at Once.
Okay. Why would you say that?
I think it's just sonically and everything. I feel like it embodies all the parts of me that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Just the different influences and kind of some of the hip hop elements.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's like a really slow and unusual tempo as well, so it's fun to kind of sink into it. I don't think it sounds like anything else, so to me it's just really easy to get into because it feels very much just like myself. And yeah, it's always nice. It's a good one to sink into and have people kind of groove along with. It's fun to sing.
Awesome. So you seem to have this really great special connection with your fans. So can you talk a little bit about how this came about and the impact that it's had on you as either an individual or as an artist?
I have no idea, but I'm so happy that it has come about. Honestly, just so many years of experimenting with music and styles and different projects and what it looked like for me. I knew I wanted to do music ever since high school. I just didn't know what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so frustrating for people that when you feel like you're on the outside of the industry or outside of something that people are in on and doing, it's easy to feel very alone and just posting things on Facebook and your family might like it or whatever. So when I started putting music out as Lostboycrow, kind of going by that name for the first time and kind of in a new city, Los Angeles, and it was really this awesome new beginning, and it was cool to see people write about it right away and respond. And so honestly, I mean, even right away there was just literally a handful of people following me on social media, but they were all interacting. And so I realized very quickly that was the most important thing. It wasn't about numbers, it was about this connection that we all had. And just literally 3 people engaging on Twitter, but they were engaging, and I was gonna engage back because I've been waiting so long to share art and music with people, and now I was doing it, sharing music that I'd always wanted to be making, and I was able to finally share that with people. And so I guess it just started right away, just the surprise and the joy of having people want to interact, and anticipating a song, or being excited when I put out music. It was so foreign to me. I had no other choice but to engage and to have that be a two-way street. And it's been, inspiration has definitely been a two-way street for me. I've been able to see my music inspire people, and they give that right back to me. That feeds me, and that continues the art for me and myself, and wanting to create and keep inspiring them. And it's a beautiful cycle.
That's really awesome, and I love what you said about the numbers not being the important part. I think people get caught up in those sometimes, so it's great that you're able to put that aside. So you kind of mentioned before, just now, that you ended up packing up, moving to LA, and really changing your life and launching your career. So what did you learn about yourself during that time?
I packed up and moved to LA on a whim. I was doing music in a different group, and I think it always kind of felt like it felt like a means to an end. It felt like I was still just trying to do this music thing. You have a passion for something, but you don't know what it looks like. You don't know how to get from A to B, but A is all there, and you're so excited and you want to make music. But I wasn't really writing a ton of songs I wasn't really writing any songs at the time I moved down to LA. And then after spending about 6 months and just, you know, seeing the other people I was playing with, you know, move back to Portland, and kind of I was forced to make a decision then of like, okay, do I stay in LA? What do I want? What does this look like for me? So I was kind of put in this position of having to make a choice to like stick it out and stay, and does LA feel like home, and whatnot. And so yeah, I guess I just learned it push came to shove, and I was really forced to make the decision of like, okay, this is some place that I feel I can create in. I've found a new community in that's supportive. You know, the first 6 months I didn't really work on a lot of music. I just met people and hung out, and you know, through meeting people, I met up with my really great friend Dylan William. We ended up recording 5 songs, and that's how Lostboycrow started.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I guess it was just a really rewarding time of, like I've been saying pretty much throughout every question, just spending years of being passionate and enjoying the process, but not really knowing what sort of the banner of creating like that would fly above me would look like, and sort of find that out a little after moving to LA was just really rewarding and encouraging.
Nice. All right. So you seem like someone who really loves like nature and like getting out and enjoying the world. But there's also seems like being a music artist, like there's a lot of pressure to be online, to be engaged on social media, and to kind of create whatever type of life you're supposed to create on the internet. So can you talk about like how you go about balancing those two sides of yourself?
It can be, I don't know if I even have an answer for that. I have to like think about that, because I think it's something that you have to be consciously aware of and think about, especially as an artist, and especially just for me personally. You know, I never had a Twitter or a Snapchat or really anything until I started releasing music. I just never got into it, and no one followed me, so I was like,
it didn't matter.
You know, like.
Yeah.
But then once I started releasing music, and like we said before, the engagement and that back and forth, like that's really exciting. And it can be, I mean, man, you spend more than 30 seconds on Twitter, you can be really bummed out, you know?
Yeah.
And so for me, I just decided, I mean, I have a sense of humor, I'd like to think, and I like to say certain things sometimes, but I did make a conscious decision, I think, like within the first year or two of Lostboycrow, that I was going to keep my social media a welcoming place. You know, each page was going to just have like open arms, kind of no judgments, and just be a positive place for people to see art and engage in art with each other and with myself. And yeah, and now I forgot the question.
It's all good.
So
I pretty much have to at this point. But yeah, no, that was good. You were just talking about the importance of like kind of creating your life online, but also living your life.
Right. And that is something it can be tricky to do. I feel like a lot of the songs are about, and what I try and do, especially in the summertime when I'm not doing as many shows, I definitely do try and get off the grid as much as I can and go to visit some of the places out in nature that have always meant a lot to me and that I love. And I think that's kind of how I find a balance, because I mean, we're all addicted to our phones, for better, for worse.
Yep.
And I live in LA, and I have access to my phone 24/7, and you know, it can be a really cool thing, but it is nice to kind of intentionally get off the grid when I can, especially in the summers, and just recharge, not even work on music, but just kind of feed the soul and just get out there and kind of get lost in real life.
Yeah, which is awesome. Like, to be able to even begin to try to find that balance, I think is incredible.
Absolutely. It is tough. It's kind of a mind trip that you have to seek that out.
Isn't it weird?
Something that you have to seek out, and it's not. And I guess I have the I think most people can do it, but I do have a certain luxury to be able to do that. And you know, the team and the managers don't like it when I'm gone for too long.
But you make it work.
I do. We do make it work, definitely.
So, what do you think has been your most inspirational or like influential fan encounter that you've had? It could be online, it could be offline.
That's tough. That's tough. I think they're all so different, and so many come to mind. But one in particular, I was getting lost in the summertime up in Edmonton, where I like to go sometimes, and not playing shows or anything. I was just there for fun with friends and family, and I think I think I did tweet out something about being in the area, and a couple of fans, a couple of sisters responded, and it turned out we were going to be like in the same area at the same time. And so I remember we were at this like outdoor festival. I was watching the Zolas, which is one of my favorite bands, and it was pouring down rain, so we were trying to leave early. They like messaged me on Twitter. They're like, we've been waiting in the rain, like we're like here, like towards the back. So I went back and like ended up meeting them, and we talked for like 45 minutes in the rain.
Wow.
Just had an amazing conversation. It was like really cool to meet people that were listening to my music up there, somewhere I hadn't toured or anything. So that was really cool. Just like I remember wanting to like just be out of the rain and then meeting them and just talking for an hour and not caring
That's
at all.
so cool.
And like one of them had me write some of the lyrics to a song I wrote called Traveler. And then she just posted on Twitter like a couple weeks ago. She got that tattooed. So that was a really cool experience.
So cool.
Yeah, that always means a lot when I see like the tattoos and stuff.
I'm sure that's a real commitment right there, and it's really cool though too that you were willing to be that dedicated to go out in the rain and like take that time, and that it had an impact on you as well.
I mean, it really did have an impact on me, and I think, I mean, it just goes back to everything that we've been saying. Like, I should be so lucky that anyone would wait in the rain for me to do anything, you know. And so it did mean a lot to me, and I'm glad I did. And it's interactions like that kind of make it worth it to do things like that again, because you never know what something can mean to somebody else or yourself, and what you'll be able to take from that. So again, everything's a two-way street.
Yeah, it's incredible. So who would you say your role models are?
Ooh, my role models. You know, I'm really blessed to have a good family. That is something I'm very thankful for, and I think the older you get, the more you can kind of look back and appreciate, especially your immediate family.
Yes.
I think in a lot of cases, and just realize, you know, your parents and grandparents they're just like you, you know. So that's been a real gift to just, you know, as time passes, just be older and realize that we're all on the same like playing field. We're all just doing the best we can, and I think both my parents, my mom and my dad, have sacrificed a lot, encouraged a lot, and they're both people that I really look up to and hope that I can be like, especially as I grow older and, you know, hopefully have a family and all that. Yeah, like, and then there's musically, like, that's a whole different story, you know, like Brian Wilson, John Mayer, Frank Ocean. I can definitely find a lot of things to draw from people like that. Neil Young, the fact that like Neil Young's still making music and standing up for what he believes, and he's just a badass, you know.
That's
He's
huge,
like this grumpy old man, but he's like awesome.
But still advocating, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you just recently released your first album. You completed a trilogy of EPs very recently, and your album's called Traveler. So what kind of response have you had from that final EP that you released, and also the album as like a full body of work?
You know, it was an interesting thing to release an album in parts and kind of have people be able to digest those separately. And so I think it was cool releasing that final EP and having people kind of digest those few new songs like as their own thing, but then also online, obviously responding to Traveler as a whole, and like, we released the whole project. I think it took a little over a year. So by the time it's out, I've written those songs years ago, and I love them to death. But they're just like, my perspective is very skewed, and so to have people be excited about like Traveler the album, like on Twitter or whatever, meant a lot to me, because by the time it was out, it was these EPs that I just poured over and like poured so much into, and over so much time. And so I forget in my mind, like, oh yeah, this is an album, like, and that's what I wanted people to think of it as, was an album, even though we released it in EPs. So even just making physical copies of the CD as one album, and selling that at shows and seeing people buy it and be excited, that's meant a lot to me, because a whole nother topic we could get into. I think albums are far from dead. I think it's a silly thing to say that albums are dead. And I, as an artist, want to keep making albums and worlds for people to step into and create their own worlds in. So I was excited to make an album, and I'm excited people were able to view it as an album, even though it was released in so many parts. So.
Yeah, I think it's super unique, and that's just so exciting to be able to do it in a way that is so memorable and you're still making a statement with. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, so when you're down, what song would you listen to help pick up your mood?
Like, I'm going to go with the song 18 by Joyce Manor. Yeah, if you haven't listened to it. It's super angsty, and it's just great. It's just great, though. Like, I've come to realize, like, that whole album, the album's called Cody. It's by Joyce Manor, and it's fairly angsty, but I've realized, like, I can throw it on when I'm really sad, just thinking about, like, just getting mad existential, or if I'm upset, like, in traffic, like, whatever
you need,
which happens from time to time in LA.
I'm sure, probably.
So yeah, I would say 18 by Joyce Manor is my go-to.
Nice. All right, so following your dreams can be rewarding, but sometimes it can be a really scary journey as well, and you took some like great leaps to be able to follow yours. So what would you say to someone who might be afraid to go after their dreams?
This is one of the questions I read beforehand, and I tried to think about it, and I was like, how do I not quote Jim Carrey for this question? Like, honestly. And like, I don't know if you've seen the documentary Jim and Andy, but it's phenomenal. I would recommend that to anybody trying to do anything in life. Okay. But Jim Carrey has a quote, I think, at the end, and it's, you can fail at anything, so you might as well fail at something you love. And I'm sure maybe I butchered it a little bit, but that resonates with me. And even before I had seen that documentary, that had kind of like subconsciously been my mantra. It was like, I didn't have another option. I didn't really believe in a backup plan or anything like that. And I don't know if that's good, societal advice, but I think it's good life advice, honestly. I think the universe gifts us with talents and passions. So if you have either of those things, especially together, I mean, I just see that as opportunity knocking already, despite your circumstance. Whatever your circumstance is, the harder it may seem, that's only a chance for a better version of you, a better version of your art. So for me, there's just like, there's no choice. If you have a passion for something, don't write that off. It might not end up looking like what you think. In fact, it usually won't. So true. Yeah, it just won't. And that's the beautiful part. It's better than we can imagine, because life has so many factors and so many variables. So I guess I would just say, like, don't write off your passion. Don't write that off as a hobby. That's just what I've learned, honestly.
That's awesome advice, and I can tell you're like speaking from experience, which I think adds a whole nother dimension to giving advice like that, because you've been through it, you understand it, and it's brought you somewhere. So thank you for sharing that. People often forget it, but a little bit of kindness can go a long way. When's the last time a stranger made you smile?
Oh, wow. Ooh. I want to say even just this morning in the elevator of the hotel, like I don't even think we spoke any words, but just like it was a have a nice day, like on her way out of the
Aw.
elevator. I mean, and that's not like that profound of a moment, but to me it was unusual almost from what people might normally do, and it it made an impact on my day. And I think people do take for granted those little moments. It doesn't have to be some big gesture or anything, but literally just treating people, just letting people know that you see them, whether it's online or in the elevator. I think that's huge. I think that's a very simple thing that gets overlooked. It's just how, whether it's with words, whatever, just letting people know, like, I see you. Like, I see you as a person and not, some obstacle or annoyance or anything else. You are a person just like me, and I see you.
That's really good. I like that. And I think that's a huge part of what we were about at Think Before You Type, is reminding people how easy it can be to go and make someone's day, or like just make them smile. I think it's really not that hard, and it's really important that we take the time to think of those things. So we're really passionate about encouraging young people to go out and use the internet for good. So what's one positive way that you'd like to see the internet change?
There's one thing I'd like to see change, I especially noticed this on Twitter, but really all of social media and the internet. Like, I think we live in an age where people are, I would say for better, keeping a close eye on everyone else. And I do think that is a good thing. I think a lot of people are being held more accountable for their actions online. But most of the times I find it falls short a little bit with more of like a do your thing Twitter, like, let's roast this person for appropriating or whatever. And I see these things and it breaks my heart, because what you did and what people are doing is they're taking a teaching moment and just turning it into a roast. It's like, you're not wrong for calling this person out at all, but you're not making it a teaching moment. I hope people would, if they call me out or whatever, make it a teaching moment. Let's have conversations. Message me. I've had people like get upset with me before online, and I'll friend them and try and message them. Let's start a dialogue. But for you to just say like, this is wrong, or like, how dare you, and you may be right, and maybe they're the worst person, like, that's not helpful. Take it a step further. Be an adult about it. Like, don't be. That's almost cowardice to just like throw people to the wolves. It's good intentions, I think, but I think sometimes people just want to roast other people.
I think so too. Yeah.
And like I said, most of the time, like, there are a lot of people that need to be like, called out for things, but it's how you go about it. And that's one thing I see all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. They're not even taking it halfway, I would say. They're doing the lazy thing. They're just calling people out, leaving it at that. Let's make these things teaching moments.
There's a more positive way to go about that, and I think it's so cool to remember that we have the power to really decide how we're going to use our words, how we're going to go about those types of situations. And there's something you could do in the moment to maybe help improve what's going on. And you're right, you can call people out. That's sometimes needs to happen, but there's a way to do it.
But then it comes down to motives too, right? Like,
That's true.
Okay, you called that person out. What was your intention for that? Did you really want to educate them? Did you want this to stop? Did you want them to learn something? Or did you want to be like the hero? Did you want to have all these retweets because you like saw that what this person was doing was wrong and you knew you could call them out? That's all I see. There's not dialogue happening. And that does break my heart. And I hope that myself personally and a lot of us are engaged more in teaching moments and opportunities. And social media is a very public place, but I would hope that the motive would be to learn and understand.
Yeah. Thank you. Like, seriously, thank you so much for bringing that up. I think it's so important that we all like consider that. I think we've all kind of wanted to maybe be in that position of not really thinking about like what the end game is for what we're saying online. So if you had the chance to speak to someone who has been cyberbullied, what would you say to them to help encourage them?
You know, the world is a fragile place, and all these cyber spaces are even more fragile, because it's just people hiding behind, you know, who they are, even if their face is out there for the world to see. It's there. There's this protection up. You know, it's just like everybody's very bold, like in traffic or something. I say things like in a traffic jam because like I'm in my car, and like, you know, I think the internet can be the same way sometimes. It can be a place of, I guess, just like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but for better or for worse, there's these walls that are up, and I don't know, like it's not that you shouldn't take it seriously, because I think it is very serious, but we can all do our part to try and make it better. Like, you know what I mean? Even if you've been, you know, if you felt attacked or anything on the internet, like, I guess just take that and take the weight of that and that feeling, and make sure that you are not that person, and that you spread the love, positivity that you want to see, because that's all we can do is have that empathy, and a lot of that comes from the way we've been treated, you know, how that makes me feel. So you can go and turn that and not do that. You know, anytime you want to get mad at somebody for being a certain way or treating you a certain way, it's like, yes, but just almost use that as a gift and thank the universe. Okay, now I know what that feels like. And I don't want to make anyone else feel that way. And I hope that's, you know, affirming.
Yeah, I think that's huge to just like remember that and to be able to use that, make it an empowering moment. I think that's important.
Yes.
My last question for you is just what do people have to look forward to from you in the coming months? I know you're on tour now. You've got a bunch of dates coming up. Anything else going on?
You know, I may have recorded another album.
Wow.
And I think that's what I'm personally most excited about in life right now, and so I can't wait to share that. You know, we'll still have a couple months of Traveler.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
I can't wait for people to see this, because it's different, and I really put my heart and soul into it. So
Well, super exciting. Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.